on this episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists.
From a networking standpoint, if you're starting to get more serious with this potential inner circle relationship, and you're actually talking about like commingling your brands in a more permanent basis, or actually doing a business together, like you got a date. Like you're gonna get professionally married to this person, and the partnerships like that, it's like a marriage, except you only talk about money, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't work out, sometimes they were good for what they were, but a lot of them can end in nasty ways, and especially depending on what you're doing, you could also tarnish your own brand. What I've learned, Andrew, is that we want to hire smarter. We want to have a real bold value for our team members. Hey, this is what we're doing. We're really excited by it, and if you are too, let's go.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists podcast, episode number 511. I'm your host, Andrew Johnston, and thank you so much for being with us today. Another great show for you. On this episode, we bring back, he was one of, maybe not the earliest guest, but in the first batch, we had recorded with him at Chicago Midwinter. He's also one of the nicest people in dentistry, and this is Dr. Chris Salierno. We talk about several things, but I think the one I want you all to focus on for this week is this thought of clinical excellence. Now, I understand that there's no straight path or straight line towards clinical excellence. I think you need to kind of grab information from one area, maybe tools from another area. In this episode, we talked a little bit about networking also, and how to have more meaningful and impactful networking. And when you're doing that, you're going to take some of the hacks that you learn from these new friends and connections, and you're going to apply it to your clinical work. Maybe it's just asking coworkers, hey, how can I get better? How do you do this? What do you think about when X, Y, and Z happens? We talked a little bit about, should you be looking for advantages online? Is that a place to get some of this information from these dental influencers that you see and the like? We're all on this journey. I think that we really owe it to our patients to keep getting better, to really strive for clinical excellence. So I hope in this episode that you hear some things that Dr. Salierno said that will either apply to you directly or inspire you to keep going and figure out new ways to achieve greatness. We mentioned it several times in this episode, and the reason is because I find it personally very helpful, and I hope that you do too. But Dr. Salierno has a Substack that has a ton of posts on various topics. And the reason why I find it so helpful is because it doesn't really matter where you're at on any of this journey. So if we're thinking again about clinical excellence, there are soft skills that we need to work on. There are things that we don't really ever think about that he does write about, like, oh, dang, that is a really good point. Now, how can I apply this to my life? Even if it's not directly relating now, put it away in the bank and maybe you can use it a little bit later on. And there's this weird thing that happens when all the dots start connecting. But you have to kind of store those away. So anyways, make sure you check that out. I'm going to put the link for that in the show notes. And please give it some priority because I think it's really going to help you as well. Big thanks to Dr. Salierno for his time. Thank you all for giving this episode a listen and enjoy this conversation.
A tale of two hygienists.
Listeners, welcome to the interview portion of the podcast. Joined today by Dr. Salierno. Doctor, thank you for being here.
Yeah, we're at the point in this relationship. You please call me Chris. We go back a long time.
We do go back a long time. Actually, that's the number one bullet point is to reminisce for a bit.
Let's do it.
I have a story I want to
Memory
tell.
lane.
I have a story. I got a beautiful story. So first of all, listeners, as we kind of talked about, these are like the last, 10 to 15 episodes or whatever. And I want to invite some of my favorite people in the world of dentistry on. Dr. Salierno, Chris, I'll do my best, right? We can try and get the bad habits out of me if we can. But anyways, we have known each other for a really long time.
Yeah.
One of the things that you did is you adopted I think, podcasting into your life at a pretty early age, and dental podcasting specifically. You hung out with all of us dental podcasting nerds way back in the day. And one of the very first things I remember about you is we didn't really know each other at the time. We were at ADA in Denver. Is that 2017 maybe? I don't know when it was held there. And I'd heard about this thing called a press badge that I never tried to get before.
Yeah.
And so I walked into the meeting room. I was like, I don't know, can I get one of these things? They're like, well, what publication are you with? I'm like, well, it's a podcast. And they're like, do you have any like
Yeah.
proof, I guess, like a card or whatever? I'm like, why would a podcaster have a card? I'm like, I don't know. It's on iTunes. And then here comes Dr. Salerno from the back. So I can vouch for this guy. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And
Oh,
you
that's
got me
nice
in.
to
And
hear.
so, yeah, but that's who you are. Like, you've always been that guy that's been, super inclusive, super loving to everyone kind of the community. It's one of my favorite things about you. So of course I had to have you back on the show
Well,
because,
thanks, man. I
this has been
appreciate
great.
that. Look, I loved any excuse to get out of my own four clinical walls, right? I learned early on in dental school, even like through the American Student Dental Association, as does like I love getting together with other people in the business, colleagues, and just that's just fun. We get to talk about work, where are things going, and like you, have always been interested in like extracurricular work beyond just being chairside. What are the cool things we can do? And so I appreciate you saying that. I think I talk about this. I have a blog now called Leaving Healthcare, talking about exactly that. How do you do non-clinical work? And it's funny. I keep coming back to networking as a key ingredient, power networking, I call it. Not just like, let me show up and, high five people and get some cocktails, but like really strategic, intentional networking. And so, look, that means you go into conversations with intent, you go to places with intent, but it also, um, you know, stripping the business out of it. It's just fun to like know people and see them pop up throughout your life and, build friendships outside of who you might meet in your immediate area. So I appreciate you saying that. I enjoy it's more fun for me to connect two people that I think are going to have a great conversation than, doing that for myself, right? Like that's the juice was when you get to help other folks out and connect people, right?
You've done a really good job, I would say, and I think we run in different circles, so I kind of see you from afar. So look, if you've, stepped in it many times and I just didn't know about it, I apologize, but it's like you've done a really good job of, while you're networking, you don't align yourself with the flash in the pan people, which I think is a whole kind of subgenre of the people that we don't really want to be associated with, but also the people that end up being the bad people. We're kind of hoping that you could talk a little bit about, this power networking. Like, how do you go into these conversations, even with a game plan of like, okay, I'm gonna eye contact, pay attention, whatever. But how do you quickly weed out the people that aren't going to be a right fit for you long term?
Oh, as like an acquaintance, right? Who do I not want to keep in the
Yeah.
circle kind of
Well,
thing?
yeah, or a professional contact relation, or like how do you distance yourself enough, because I think that we talk about networking a lot for dental hygienists. It's so powerful, but then I don't think any of us know how to do it well,
Yeah.
and we mess up a lot and we align with the wrong people.
So for my concept of power networking, I'm sure other people have characterized it differently, but I say, be present. It's three things. One is be present a lot. Just you need to just go to lots of places and interact with folks. Go to conferences, like just foot your own bill. There were plenty of times I'm like, I could make money working in my practice, or I could take time to go to a conference. I will not make money, but just hit the exhibit for or whatever. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm investing in myself. So that's one bit. The second bit is to say yes a lot, say yes to things. And this is one of the really important parts. Like at a certain stage of your career, when you're just getting your name out there to do whatever it is you want to do. You want to do lots of lecturing. You want to do, work for a company, a corporation. You want to work for, Procter and Gamble or whatever. You got to say yes to a lot of stuff and do things that maybe don't pay well but whatever, but they're paying you an experience and you're building trust with that person who's giving you this opportunity to do a thing. It can be a one-off consultant thing. It can be the opportunity can take lots of shapes. And then the last one is make deposits before you make withdrawals, right? To help other folks, be generous with your time, make those connections that don't benefit you directly, do all that stuff before you make an ask. And so to answer your question, where I see people sometimes go astray is they do the opposite of one of those three things, right? They don't put themselves out there. They're just, I want to be the world's most famous whatever. And they never show up to any places to even do networking in the first place. They don't say yes a lot. They're like, no, I'm just going to hold out until I get paid $10,000 to do a 3-hour lecture. It's like, guy, gal, what are you doing? You got to start. You got to start out. You got to, I would live like that too when I started lecturing, but that's not how it works. And make deposits, right? Those folks will do the opposite. They're always asking for withdrawals, right? They're walking around networking like, here's my card. If you need someone to lecture on this, like I'm your person or whatever. Like they're not investing in the relationships. I think if you do those three things, then that's that strategic power networking. You're being really thoughtful. Then I think people will think of you kindly, and it takes time, but it leads to opportunities that lead to more. And then before you know it, you're doing all kinds of cool stuff. And that you've been doing all kinds of cool stuff your whole career. And I do you agree? Like it's, you don't force your way
for
into
sure.
those opportunities, right?
Yeah, well, I think that there's this weird narrative that I keep hearing sometimes, and this is it's not specific to hygienists, but I hear it more in the hygiene community where it's like, you can get paid what you're worth, and it's just like, well, your worth of what you think you are is different than the worth that you are to the person that's maybe gonna employ you, and it just doesn't work exactly like that. You could be the most amazing hygienist chairside clinically.
Yeah.
Procter & Gamble, by the way, they're not sponsoring this episode, but Procter & Gamble is not gonna know that about you enough to want to invest in you and pay you the big dollars. And you hear about, like, you probably listen to a lot of comedy podcasts and stuff too, but, like, all the comedians, that's what they do too. Like, they're barkers at the doors trying to get people into their show. They're, like, inviting their friends and family and they have to buy 3 drinks or whatever just so they can get up on stage. Like, they really, like, hustle for the beginning of their career. And then not all of them, but then look what happens. Like, then the opportunities start coming. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
It's weird though. I'm not. I feel like I'm kind of stuck a little bit on um knowing still, like that the knowing who to align yourself with. Do you have examples of some red flag type acquaintances? Like, what are the things that they're doing that you're like, you know what? Even if they're in a powerful position and could give you the world, you don't really want to align with those types of people.
Huh. That's a great question. I mean, I would always trust your gut on that stuff. If you get the spidey sense tingling, maybe don't get into a full venture. I was just talking to a acquaintance of mine. I did work with a few years ago, and he literally just hours ago, he's telling me he's starting a business with this person, right? This is like a consultant of some kind, entrepreneur or whatever. And pitched him on an idea. My friend didn't like that idea, said, hey, I don't really want to work on that. That's not really something I'm passionate about. But here's another thing I'm interested in. And so, time goes by, guy comes back to my friend and says, good news, we've got funding, we're ready to go. Let's do this thing. I need 100% of your time. And like, this is what we're doing. And he was just like, whoa, okay, this is exciting. I had an idea. You got it done. But like launching a company with you, like, this is exciting. My guidance to him was, you need to like date before you get married. You don't know, you've never met this person in
Yes.
person, right? So,
Yes.
someone that's maybe pushing a little faster than you're ready is probably a red flag. But also like someone who doesn't want to take time to just, break bread and get to know each other. When I went in on a business venture with my business partner for years, Dr. Aaron Thomas, we opened a practice together in 2010. We dated, not literally. We business dated, right? We would get coffee. We talk about what kind of practice do you want to own and what types of patients do you like to see. It costs us nothing other than a cup of coffee to do that stuff. And we got to get a sense of, is this going to be a good relationship or not? So if I'd say from a networking standpoint, if you're starting to get more serious with this potential inner circle relationship and, you're actually talking about like commingling your brands in a more permanent basis or actually doing a business together, like, yeah, you got to date Like you're gonna get professionally married to this person, and you know, partnerships like that, it's like a marriage, except you only talk about money. And
Yeah.
sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't work out, sometimes they were good for what they were, but a lot of them can end in nasty ways, and especially, depending on what you're doing, it could also tarnish your own brand, and
Yeah.
bring it down a little bit. So that's a red flag. I think, is someone that moves faster than you want to, someone that doesn't want to like spend time just like checking your values and all that. So that's a concern. That's for a more serious, long-standing relationship. I mean, just someone to network with. I mean, there's names. There's names out there of people that are like, "Oh, that person." Oy. And sometimes it's just talk and people are just jealous, but you also know there's sometimes where someone's maybe just hasn't been a great actor, right? It just hasn't just
Mhm.
been, compassionate, or there's a reason why this person can get a bad reputation in the business, whatever it may be, rude to people, whatever. And so, yeah, I'm usually pretty careful about that. Um, and it's weird. You get people that like run into you at a show, and they're always like, "Hey, good to see you. Hey, let's get a selfie." And sometimes that's really cool, and other times it's just like, "You're using me right now, and this is weird."
Yeah.
Not that a photo with me does anything for anyone's social cachet, but like still, it's just this weird. It's a weird thing. So, trust your gut. Those are red flags for me.
Yeah.
What
Well, and I
about
liked
you?
it.
What have you noticed? So you're really curious about this. What are some red flags you
I
know?
I mean, honestly, the same thing. I think when people dream too big, weirdly, I like dreamers. I like people who are like they have this, but when they're saying, "Hey, come into either business with me or work with me, and here's the world at your fingertips," like that is a red flag to me. I'm like, no one can do that. No one can just start something right away and it be super successful. I was having a call with someone earlier today, and we're talking about how SEO and search is changing, right? And how AI has, their, Google summaries and things like that. And how are we really going to build an audience and build, this particular thing? And all of it's being honest and truthful in who you are, what you represent, and then develop authentic relationships. And if you're
Yeah.
going to do that, then you have, the audience that we're driving for. And it's just like, it's kind of like that whole thing is you can't build it fast. You shouldn't try and build things fast. If you want them to last, if you want them to be done, like well done, take a minute, like, it's gonna be alright. I do like your idea about dating. We've seen that, we've seen lots of our friends who have date business dated or whatever, and then basically married that company, and they are super successful, that they're with them still, 15 years later, and they just love it. It's a great partnership. They're just, so in love with each other. So I
Yeah.
don't know how far to take that metaphor, but, like, they're
All the
still in love
way,
and still
baby.
married,
Yeah.
and,
It's how I
so
got
it
the
goes
dental
both ways.
economics gig. Like, I became
Mm,
editor of dental economics, not because they, picked my name out of a hat and they had never met me. It's because that group, you know, gave, gave me little assignments, and I said yes to them, right? They were the very first things I did for dental economics. I got zero pay for it. It's like, "Hey, we've got this, webinar. You wanna, we can you do us a solid, whatever?" And my buddy Scott Fromm and I were like, "Yeah, we'll do it," right? And then they gave us the next thing. We executed that well. We did the next thing. They saw we were easy to work with. We weren't being divas, and we got an e-newsletter, and we put our all into that. And that didn't pay very much, but it was just, "Hey, this is cool. We're getting our names out there." Like, we got a lot out of it, and they did too. And so by the time that the position was going to become open for editor of dental economics, my name was on a short list, and I wasn't even vying for that position, right? So so the dental economics absolutely, and the media company absolutely was dating me. We were definitely dating before we got married in a more formal relationship. I think that's you do little trial projects, right?
mhm,
You just
mhm.
try working together, and you see if it's going to go well or not.
Yeah, for sure. I wanna switch, gears a little bit. One of the things that I've always admired about you is your, uh, I'm gonna call it passion, not a crazy amount of passion, but you're very passionate about excellence in clinical dentistry. And your role now, I wanna talk a little bit about, like, how do you transfer your desire for clinical excellence into the doctors that you work with, into the
Right.
hygienists that you work with? How do you transfer that, like, love of dentistry that you have and make them feel it and also want to exude it also?
It's a great question. I can't do it. Right. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. So I'm chief dental officer at Tend. I've been at Tend for over 4 years now. I love the crazy mission that we're on, right? To innovate in healthcare and in hospitality, to treat our urban markets of young urban professionals and deliver a great value proposition to them. Like I'm so interested. I was doing a version of that in my own practice for years. Really excited to do it now on a much bigger scale with trying to pay really smart people to do it. And what I learned is I can, polish. I can share with folks like, hey, here's ways to express your enthusiasm. But what I can't do is give them enthusiasm in the first place. Right. So, um, Danny Meyer, famous restaurateur, I reference him a bunch in my lectures. He wrote a book called Setting the Table. And Danny Meyer's known for Shake Shack now, but before that, he had a really famous hospitality group in New York City. Still does. And he, in his book Setting the Table, he had a chapter called the 49-51% solution. And what he was saying is your best team members, your best employees, about half of what makes them great is the technical ability to do their job, and the other half is their personality, right? And he gives a slight edge to personality, so that's why it's 51% is their personality. Okay, nothing revolutionary, but what he shared in this book's 20 years old easily. What blew my mind is he said, you can train the technical. You can't train the personality. You can polish the personality, right? You can show people how to express that passion, but I can't train someone to like pick up a piece of crumbled Kleenex that's on the hallway floor. Like I can't train some. Let me write a standard operating procedure. Every time you see this, make sure. No, I can't train common sense or write an SOP for common sense or write an SOP for someone's passion. So what I've learned, Andrew, is that we want to hire smarter. We want to have a real bold value for our team members. Hey, this is what we're doing at 10. We're really excited by it. And if you are too, let's go. We're very clear about how we deliver care to patients and what gets us up in the morning. Look, it's dentistry at the end of the day, but that value proposition is a much more holistic, kind of a concept, right? Yeah, it's the dentistry, it's the hygiene, it's the dental assisting, but it's also that we really care about hospitality, and it's all about a lot more than just smiling and being nice to people. There's other elements to that. It's using our tech stack and being excited to be like, yeah, you know what? As a hygienist, I'm going to do some assisted hygiene and have an assistant that works with me. And I'm going to do iTero scans. And I'm like, let's go. Like I am ready to be paid really well to work hard. And this is exciting. Right. So there's a lot that goes into that brand as an employer, that our concept, our mission, vision, value, stuff we're passionate about. So we tell all of that. We tell that whole story in our interview process. And we won't move forward with the candidate if we think that this is just not going to be a right fit. It's not in their best interest or in our best interest. So we hire smarter, and in our onboarding, we really spend a lot of time, not just like, great, watch that person for an hour. Okay, you're good to go. Go get them, Tiger, right? We have a thoughtful onboarding process, especially if they're new grads, where we're really giving them as much runway as they need to do the technical side of the job. But they got the personality or they don't, right? And we give feedback. That's one of the really important things for us too. How do you get better? How do you get a little bit better every day if you're not open to feedback? We're all open to feedback. Anyone can give me feedback at any point on how I said a thing or did a thing. Like, bring it on. Let's go. Please make me better. Let's have a real safe space for us to be able to do all that. So yeah, that's a long answer, Andrew, but it's like, how do I convey or transmit that passion? I can't. They got it or they don't.
I didn't expect this answer, by the way. Just FYI. I thought you were going to go a completely different direction and do your little, I don't know, people just have like these canned answers for these types of things. But like, I love this, but I have weird follow-up questions now that we didn't, script out. So here's the thing though, is when you do it that way, when you have a business model that's that way, you are almost exactly opposite of doing what everyone else is doing right now. Everyone else now wants someone that can do competent clinical dentistry.
Sure.
To hell with your personality, so to speak. Like, who cares if you can be nice to the patient? The hospitality part of it's not really part of it. Can you do the technical part? Because we need warm bodies. So how do you then compete in this world when you're already cutting your hiring pool in less than half? I mean, you're really limiting what you are hiring.
Yeah. So we want to build a bold employee value proposition. And if there's anyone that's interested in you're doing something like this for their own practices, uh, I talked about a patient value proposition. Why do you come to 10? We're thoughtful about that every step along that journey. We're also thoughtful about an employee value proposition. If you're just coming to check in, check out, earn a decent paycheck, and that's it, we're not the right place for you. And you know what's interesting is when you say that in a much nicer way than I've just said it, but when you say that, you tend to attract the right type of person, right? We definitely have evolved this over time. We did not always have this figured out. It is hard to hire hygienists. It is hard to hire dental assistants. These are really interesting times, right? And so instead of just trying to be everything to everyone and take the warm bodies, as you say, right, who are competent clinically, we said, let's actually limit it a bit. Let's be something really specific and of value to a smaller group. But if we do that right, then we'll have people that seek us out. Right.
And probably retention too, right? Like, I mean, if they
Yeah.
fit your model, then they're not going to be so frustrated by the little things that maybe aren't going 100%
Because there's a
stay with
clear
you longer.
difference in working here than somewhere else. And someone may be less inclined to leave for an extra buck an hour, right? Now we do well with our hygienists, our dentists. Like we pay them well, and we have a really exciting bonus program in place that rewards their hard work. And we've got to show up and pay them well, but we also want to pay them with our vision and our values, which can sound hokey, but like one of our values is rooted in growth. We want you to be the best hygienist you can ever be. And of course, you never get there. You're just getting a little bit better every day. We will open up career opportunities for you. Our director of hygiene, Azka Zafar, started off as a hygienist, who then became a lead hygienist, who became a hygiene training manager. Now she's our director of hygiene and assisting, right? Like, career growth is not something that everyone cares about, but there's a whole bunch of folks who do. And for publicly sharing that and singing that from the mountaintops, like, hey, we want you to be an amazing chairside hygienist, and if you want to take on some leadership possibilities, boy, do we have a whole bunch of opportunities for you, and we're going to train you how to do it. We're going to give you advanced concepts of how to give feedback. How do you tell someone they're not doing a great job and still have them like you at the end of the day and work hard for you, right? Like, we're going to unlock this stuff for you. Again, it's not for everybody, but for certain folks, it means a lot. We need a whole group of folks who aren't interested in those leadership opportunities. So there's something else we've got to give them, right? And again, it's being able to work in a busy urban environment at a state-of-the-art practice using lots of cool technology, digital workflows, and being able to present comprehensive preventative dentistry to our patients. That's another big one for our hygienists. Our most successful hygienists are really excited, and our dentists are really excited about presenting comprehensive and preventative dentistry. So not just being competent on the bread and butter stuff, fillings, prophies, right? But getting them excited about the opportunity to do really cool preventative stuff using,
because the bread and butter gets monotonous and boring, right? Like, that's the thing that kind of doesn't really fill our cup necessarily all the time.
Doesn't fill our cup. So we partner with Dentrix Ascend and is our PMS. And so we just rolled out Video Health across all of our studios. So, that's pretty cool for a hygienist to be able to start having more informed conversations before the dentist even walks in the room and say, like, instead of saying, yeah, you see this here, this little spot here, that's a certain marker, and down here is your bone, and I'd say it's about 1.5 millimeters. Like, we can just say, like, hey, you see this yellow line here? I'm seeing a lot of those. Yeah, that means we're starting to see a certain level of bone loss, and boy, am I concerned about that. So, right, we want to give you the technology that makes sense to do that. So again, that's not for everybody. There's going to be folks that say, yeah, no, I've been doing this for a long time. I like to do it my way. That's awesome. And if it's aligned with us, great. If it's not, it's not. So sometimes I think you can be more. I think you can be more successful in attracting people to what you're offering, whatever that may be, as a business, if you are not trying to be everything to everybody.
100%, 100%. I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit more about this off air, because I have
Yeah,
some
sure.
more follow-up questions about that, but, I wanna shift a little bit to something I think you wrote it in one of your, because you have Substack and you have all these beautiful articles in there.
Oh,
You had
thanks.
you had said something, and it might have been under, if you remember this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was about, you were talking about social media just in general, and I think you were talking about the dangers of comparing ourselves to others, right? So people put on social media their most beautiful dentistry or their most amazing job titles, roles, whatever, and like, this is who I am. I was hoping that you can kind of maybe talk about that a little bit, about the dangers that you're seeing, or the concerns at least that you're seeing with comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah, so I have a Substack called Leaving Healthcare. I have to blog. I've been doing it for a long time, and now that I'm departed from dental economics, I just have a need to write about a thing. So I like writing about what does a non-chair side or bedside career opportunity look like, and I'm not just talking to dentists, hygienists, and assistants. I'm talking to nurses. I'm talking to everyone. Right. I think it's interesting. It's a weird thing that you and I do, Andrew, that we get paid to not put our fingers in people's mouths, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
weird. That's
yeah.
interesting. And there's people that want to do it part-time or even full-time. So yeah, I had a post called Social Media is Probably Bad for Healthcare. Like, just, it's obviously more nuanced than that, but net negative, not net positive. And so a few reasons, like the obvious one is patients get some not so great information sometimes, and now increasingly it's through ChatGPT, which pulls it from wherever it pulls it from, Reddit or wherever. In some ways, this can be great. We love more informed patients, but it also means they can be persuaded by bad information. They can be it's easier for them to be informed. It's also easier for them to be misinformed. So obviously that we've all dealt with that, right?
Mhm.
In our there. I'm also concerned about the information we get from our peers. And I think sometimes as we look to just share a case or whatever, we might be presenting something that a younger, more impressionable person learns from. Back in my day, when I graduated in 2005, social media was absolutely in its infancy. We still learned by going to study clubs or to a local dental society meeting or conferences. And that's how we got information on how to do a thing. The big concern we had was maybe getting persuaded incorrectly by like a company, right? A manufacturer is giving a course and they're just going to be selling their products or something, right? But even they weren't telling you do bad dentistry, right? And I think inadvertently people can be sharing, hey, look at this case I did, or I'm promoting myself as an influencer and you can buy my course or whatever. Hey, that's great. But again, some of these folks may be sharing stuff that is not appropriate. There's examples you could probably think of, or your audience can think of. There's ones I can think of that, of course, I won't name, but folks who probably even, it's the dangers are worthy of bringing up to a state board, like that level of bad dentistry being done. And it's promoted as, look at this great thing I did, and it's can even be borderline unethical. So I think that's I wrote an article in the Journal of American College of Dentists about this. So I won't go into all the details here. You can read the Substack about it, but I nerd out on this as someone like you who's really interested in media and dental media. I think it's interesting on why is it better if someone publishes a clinical study in dental economics now under the great Pam Maragliano. Like, why is it better to post there or to have a published article there than to post it on Instagram, right? I'm not saying that you can't have both, but there's extra layers, there's filters, and I go into all that stuff. So that's another one. I think the other one, and this is now getting a little more personal, and my buddy Josh Austin has great material on this. He's lectured on this, right? He has a lecture he's done called Chamfered Psyche that's brilliant. I think we're very vulnerable when we compare ourselves to our peers. And of course, our peers are just showing, here's my A work before, after. And That can be tough, I think, as you're just scrolling through Instagram, you're just seeing, like, that dentist crushed it, that dentist crushed it, that hygienist crushed it. You're just seeing these perfect examples of their work or their lives, and that's not reality, and, I think this is a much larger problem than just dentistry, of course, right? We're all seeing these influential folks, whether they call themselves influencers or not, they're all just showcasing the thin part of their lives that looks perfect. And dentistry, hygiene, like these are imperfect things, and we're going to screw it
Yes.
up all the time. And so if we're very aware of how we screwed things up, and we only see perfect online, that has to do something to your psyche. And so
Mhm.
I'm very offline. Do have an Instagram account, and I'm semi-active on it, but I'm not scrolling a lot of other things for that reason. I just I don't I want to take better care of myself. Hey, the last reason, and you know this one well, is just I think we're less professional online. That's the other danger of social media is when someone does post a case, whether it's good dentistry or bad dentistry, those Facebook comment sections or whatever just turn into the classic dumpster fire pretty quickly, and we could be
Yeah.
pretty nasty. It's not a comment we would say if we were in the same room as them in a study club, right? Maybe like, "Oh, that's an interesting approach. Like, can you tell me more about that?" Right? We're not doing that online. It's hate it, but caps. That's it. And I think that has it degrades, it erodes our professional standards when we feel like our colleagues are just being nasty to each other and lighting people up. I have been basic as soon as I transferred over to Pam Maragliano, the DE ship of editorship, I was able to drop off being Facebook, and it's been glorious. Like, I just am delighted. I mean, I just
Yeah.
would see people write like, "Look at this article, blah," and I'd be like, "Come on, like, really? Like, it's fine, and you're fine, and now I have to spend 10 minutes writing this response to you."
No,
So that's my concern with social media and healthcare.
no, and I like it. And listeners, you gotta check out all the different things that he writes, all the little blog posts on there. They're I love, by the way, your writing style. You've always been really good at it.
Thank you.
I love the way that flows, the way you like lead one topic into the other and all this. But it's really good. The reason why I specifically took that post to talk about is, and this may be a little bit trite, but it's the whole practice. We practice dentistry, right? It's no, I think anymore students are coming out of school thinking they have to be perfect. Everyone just thinks they have to be so dang good, and it's like, look, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there, and you're gonna get really, really dang good. But you're gonna learn for forever. You're gonna learn new things, new tips, new tricks. You're always gonna be doing something. And if you stop learning, then maybe reevaluate what's going on in your life. Like, why did you stop learning? And maybe add something into, it doesn't have to be dentistry related, but it has to be something that kind of keeps you stimulated. But yeah, it was just a beautiful post. I just wanted to kind of bring it up.
Wow, thanks,
All right.
man.
So I have one last question, and this is one of those ones that, like, you've interviewed tons of people. Like, I should have given you a heads up on this because I don't know if you actually know the answer off the top of your head. So if we
Ooh,
need to
this
take a
sounds
minute
good.
and
I'm excited.
edit the pause out, we can do that. But okay, so you've seen a lot of transitions in and out of dentistry, right? And so I wanted to know, like, as far as like the most unique situations, and that could be someone that wasn't in dentistry before and now is like a lab tech, like they were in a biker gang or whatever, and now it's a lab tech, or they were in dentistry and now they're in doing oil derricks or whatever. I don't know. Like, what have you seen as far as like transitions and things go that are unique?
Yeah, gosh, I do know some folks that are totally out of what they were normally doing. So, I'll give a shout out to Ryan Hungate. I think he's a super interesting guy. You've probably crossed paths with him. So he's a dentist. He's an orthodontist, if I'm not mistaken. And he pivoted early in his career to start making interesting technology that he was using in his own practice. I think I'm getting his origin story correctly. Ryan, apologies if I'm not. He started a company called Simplify, and that was like you get Apple Watches to do interoffice communications, and it led to lots of other exciting things. So he is, to my knowledge, again, sorry, Ryan, if I'm getting this wrong, but he's very much not doing any chairside dentistry right now. So he's not in a biker gang. He's the chief strategy officer for Henry Schein One. So he's another person like me who's traded scalpels for spreadsheets, right? Traded, hand pieces for PowerPoint slide decks. That's a pretty radical departure from straightening teeth to like determining the technology strategy of one of the largest, healthcare companies on the planet. So that's a pretty drastic one. But you're looking for like a biker gang. I mean, someone who's like a Potter or
Not
something.
necessarily. Not necessarily. It was just that I have this notion of dental professionals that might be a little bit kind of wonky and maybe a little bit off, but I'm like, we come from all walks of life. I would say we're really smart. Like going from orthodontist to like leading a team that's and it's Henry Schein. It's not even like, Podunk Nothingville, company. It's a big team. And so it's like I'm constantly impressed by how we pivot in this industry and the things that whether we create the positions for ourselves or we find out about positions and then pursue them, or it's just, I'm sure, there can be some people in, a vet tech that did something cool afterwards, but like, I just don't know there's another profession that's like us, that's as pretty much cool as us. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it goes back to that like say yes to a lot of stuff, right? As you're doing power networking, if you're starting to get that itch, like I did, even in dental school, like I don't know if I'm going to do this full time clinical dentistry for forever, right? But as you just start saying yes to stuff, like I did plenty of one-off projects that I was like, that was boring. I'm never going to do that again. Right. But you start to do enough of stuff and you get a sense of, oh, I kind of have this experience and that could kind of translate to this other thing here. And there's translatable skills for sure. I think we do as dentists, as hygienists, dental assistants. Yeah. Like there's so many different things you can do. And I'll throw nurses into that bucket too, by the way. It's one of the most flexible careers you could have. Once you get that RN, like the that's maybe who surpasses us in terms of flexibility to what you could do with the rest of your life. If you're an accountant, like you're an accountant, you're going to teach accounting, you're work for yourself, work at a big firm, a small firm, right? Like there's only so many things you can do. But we have so much flexibility. It's really exciting, right? We can do academics, sure, but we can become administrators and an FQHC. We can and do wonderful work for those in need. We can go to work for a manufacturer and do really interesting work and push the boundaries of technology. We can do like me, work at a large group practice, a DSO, and set the clinical direction for folks. It's endless the fun stuff we can do. And I know, like you, lecturing, consulting, that's just super, super fun. We can do a ton of that too. Yeah, no, it's dentistry, the dental fields. We're real. The world is in front of us. There's a million things we can do. And to anyone listening, if you ever feel you're a little stuck in a rut, and you change a job and you're just doing the same thing, but in a different setting. And if you change it again, still not feeling it, maybe you're ready to do something that's totally different.
Yeah.
The world is open for you.
I love it. Doctor, thank you so much for taking the time. I mean, I have so many more questions, but I mean, this is going to have to be probably the last one. Was there anything that you were hoping I was going to ask you on this episode that I didn't ask you?
When are we getting a beer? When is the next time we're getting a pint?
Greater New York,
together?
Right?
Greater New York,
maybe?
All right.
Yeah.
Deal.
Awesome. All right, Doctor, thank you for being here. If anyone want to check out your Substack, if they want to see where you're speaking, what you're doing, where can they find all that information?
Yeah, Leaving Healthcare is my Substack, and on Instagram, I'm The Curious Dentist.
Love it. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, man.
All right, listeners, that is our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to reach out to all of our guests. Give us a follow on social media. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you have a minute, head over to our website and sign up for our newsletter. All right, we'll see you on the next one. This has been a production of Endeavor Business Media, a division of Endeavor B2B.